The rook toppled with a hollow clack that echoed through the empty hall like a gunshot, and I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs as Gabriel's shadow fell across the board. "Lincoln, what the hell are you doing here?" he whispered, his voice cracking like thin ice over a frozen lake, the kind that hides depths you never want to plunge into. In that split second, before the world crashed down around us, I saw it all in his eyes. The love we'd buried in late-night whispers, the betrayal I just unearthed like a landmine in our fragile peace. It started 6 months earlier, in the stale air of the Brooklyn Chess Collective, a nondescript brick building wedged between a bodega and a laundromat in Bed-Stuy. I'd been mopping floors there for 3 years, invisible as the dust bunnies under the folding chairs. At 38, life had sanded me down to the basics. Show up at dawn, scrub away the ghosts of yesterday's games, clock out before the real players arrived. Chess wasn't a game for guys like me, not anymore. Not after Marcus, my college sweetheart back in Philly, who swore we'd conquer the world together over a battered board in our dorm room. He was the prodigy, I was the quiet study partner who could spot a fork from across the room. But ambition's a jealous lover. He traded our late nights for sponsorships and spotlights, leaving me with a shattered king and a one-way bus ticket to New York. "You're holding me back, Link," he'd said, his words sharper than any knight's charge. I never touched a board again, until Gabriel. He blew in like a nor'easter off the East River, all sharp suits and sharper smiles, organizing the club's annual tournament like it was the Super Bowl of strategy. Gabriel Reyes, 35, with olive skin that glowed under the fluorescence and eyes like polished obsidian. Dark, pulling you in until you forgot the shore. He wasn't a player, not officially. He was the golden boy liaison from the American Chess Federation, scouting talent for the big leagues. But I'd catch him lingering after hours, fingers tracing the edges of pieces, as if they held secrets only he could unlock. Our first real collision happened on a Tuesday, rain hammering the roof like impatient fingers. I'd finished wiping down the tournament tables early, the scent of lemon cleaner clinging to my hands, when I heard the scrape of a chair. There he was, alone under the single bulb, board set up like a battlefield. He moved a pawn forward with deliberate grace, then paused, brow furrowed. Without thinking, I murmured, "Queen's gambit declined. But you're leaving your bishop exposed. Knight takes 3 moves." He whipped around, startled, his laugh bursting out like sunlight through clouds. "You play." I shrugged, heat creeping up my neck. "Used to. Long time ago. That was it, the hook." By week's end, we were meeting in the back storage room, boards squeezed between mop buckets and stacked chairs. No stakes, just the thrill of minds tangling without consequence. Gabriel didn't pry about my past, and I didn't ask about the shadows that flickered in his gaze when he mentioned his ex, some Wall Street hotshot who'd bailed when Gabriel came out to his family. "They think love's a zero-sum game," he'd say, resetting the pieces with a sigh. "But it's not. It's infinite if you let it be." His words wrapped around me like a well-worn scarf, warming the cold corners Marcus had left. We talked dreams over lukewarm coffee from the vending machine, his of bridging the gap between street hustlers and ivory tower grandmasters, mine of, hell, I didn't have any left. But with him I started to remember. A brush of hands over a captured pawn turned into stolen kisses in the dim light, fierce and tender, like we'd both been starving for air. "You're more than this place, Link," he'd whisper against my skin, his breath a promise. "You're a force." For the first time in years, I believed it. The tournament loomed like a thunderhead. The Brooklyn Open, drawing amateurs, pros, and one guest star, the reigning world champion Victor Stahl, a Russian émigré with a jaw like chiseled granite and a reputation for psychological warfare. Stahl was the villain of every chess doc, the guy who stared down opponents until they blundered their souls away. Gabriel buzzed with energy, coordinating media, sponsors, the works. "This could put us on the map," he'd say, eyes alight. It felt like that now, partners in more than just the shadows. But doubt gnawed at me. What if he saw the real me, the janitor who dreamed in endgames but swept them under the rug? Then came the betrayal, sharp as a discovered attack. It was 2 weeks out, after a practice game where I'd let him win, old habit, protecting the ones you love from their own edges. We were tangled on the storage room floor, shirts half unbuttoned, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, face paling. "Family stuff," he muttered, but I saw the name Alex, the ex. Later, alone with my mop, I overheard him in the office, voice low and urgent. I can't, Alex. Not now. Lincoln. He's different. Real. Pause. Then laughter bitter. Forced. Yeah, the janitor. Cute, right? But he's got layers you wouldn't believe. My stomach twisted. Layers? Or just pity? That night, I confronted the board alone, moving pieces with furious precision until dawn. By morning, I'd entered the tournament under a pseudonym L. Harper. No one would know. Not even him. The open unfolded in a whirlwind of clinking timers and murmured strategies. The hall transformed into a pressure cooker of egos and espresso. I watched from the wings, blending into the maintenance crew, my heart a traitor pounding for Gabriel as he glad-handed VIPs. Stahl arrived like a storm front, entourage in tow, his presence sucking oxygen from the room. He crushed qualifiers with cold efficiency, his eyes scanning the field like a predator. Gabriel caught my gaze once, across the crowd, concern flickering, then softening into that smile that undid me. You okay? He mouthed. I nodded, lying through my teeth. My first rounds were ghosts. Disguised in a borrowed blazer from the lost and found, alias badge pinned crooked, I dismantled opponents with surgical strikes. Quiet openings exploding into middle game tempests. Whispers started. Who's this Harper guy? Plays like he's got Kasparov's ghost in his sleeve. By semifinals, the hall buzzed. Gabriel cornered me in the hallway, grip firm on my arm. Link, this is insane. You're brilliant. Why hide it? His voice trembled, pride warring with hurt. Because the last time I showed up, I lost everything. I admitted, the words spilling like uncorked wine. Marcus's ghost hovered between us. Gabriel pulled me close, forehead to mine. Not with me. Never with me. In that moment I almost withdrew. But the fire in my veins, the one he'd reignited, pushed me forward. Finals night. The air thick with sweat and anticipation. Rain lashing the windows like accusatory fingers. Stahl versus L. Harper. The crowd swelled, locals, bloggers, even a reporter from the New York Times. Gabriel sat ringside, face a mask of agony and awe, our eyes locking as I took my seat. Stahl smirked across the board, his opening aggressive, probing for weakness. Amateur hour, he drawled in that thick accent, loud enough for the front row. I said nothing, countering with a Sicilian defense, layers unfolding like a withheld confession. The game stretched into eternity. 2 hours of feints and sacrifices, the hall silence save for the tick of the clock. He pressed, I parried. He blundered a pawn, I snared his queen's knight. Gasps rippled as I built my assault, pawns marching like foot soldiers in a forgotten war. Gabriel's hand clenched the armrest, knuckles white. Midway, Stahl leaned in, voice a venomous hiss. You think talent hides forever? It festers. His words hit like Marcus's echo, but I saw Gabriel then, rising halfway from his seat, mouth open in protest. Betrayal? No, that was love, raw and unfiltered. Check. The hall inhaled. Stahl's face cracked, arrogance fracturing into fury. He lashed out, not with pieces but words. Who are you, really? Some charity case. My alias shattered in that instant. Murmurs crested into recognition. The janitor? Lincoln Hayes. Chaos erupted. Flashes from phones, shouts of disbelief. Gabriel surged forward, but I held up a hand, eyes locked on Stahl. One final move, queen to h8. Mate. The rook fell. The room exploded. Stahl shoved back, chair scraping like a scream, storming off amid boos and bewildered applause. Hands clapped my back. Strangers turned saviors, hailing the underdog who'd toppled the titan. But I barely heard them. My gaze found Gabriel, pushing through the throng, his face a storm of emotions. Joy, fear, something deeper. Regret? We stumbled into the rain-slicked alley behind the hall, the door slamming shut on the frenzy. Water streamed down his cheeks, mingling with tears I hadn't noticed. Link, why didn't you tell me? Entering like that, risking us. His voice broke, hands framing my face. Because I was scared. I confessed. the downpour washing away the grime of years. Scared you'd see me as broken, that this, I gestured to the invisible crown now heavy on my brow, would change what we have. He laughed, a sound like breaking dawn, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of salt and absolution. Fool, it doesn't change a thing. It makes you, the man I fell for sweeping floors and stealing my heart. But betrayal's shadow lingered. As we broke apart, his phone lit up. Alex again, the message glowing. Saw the stream. Knew you had a soft spot for strays. Call me, we can fix this. Gabriel's thumb hovered, then deleted it. Eyes meeting mine with a vow. No more hiding, for either of us. We walked back inside hand in hand, the crowd parting like the Red Sea for their unlikely king. The Federation scouts swarmed, offers tumbling like captured pieces. Sponsorships, tours, a shot at the real-world championship. I took Gabriel's hand tighter. This time I wouldn't go alone. In the end, it wasn't about the board or the title. It was the quiet revolutions. The ones where a janitor claims his throne, a liaison finds his North Star, and two men, scarred by old wars, build a kingdom from checkered squares and second chances. Brooklyn streets hummed with our story, a testament that in America's grand, gritty chess game, the pawns can become queens, and sometimes they choose love over legacy. We did.